the gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Our gospel today gives us the story, the very familiar story, of the poor widow who puts in just a few cents into the treasury. Now, she serves as a great example and a great guide for all of us. But first, we have to address the situation itself. We have to address why Jesus made this comparison to first the scribes and the Pharisees and all of those who felt that they were doing what was right according to the law, and then also lifts her up as an example when there are many others who are giving large sums. He doesn't say that they're not generous, but he looks at the difference in their generosity. Again, they give from a surplus. They give what's left over. They give what will not impact them at all. And yet we're told the widow, she gives her whole livelihood. She gives in a way that perhaps she will not eat tomorrow. Or she might have to really worry about whether she can continue to meet her medical needs. It might even impact the actual dwelling place in which she lives. And so Jesus lifts these examples up for us. One of the things I find most interesting when we look at offering one's generosity, and again, we have to remember, although Jesus is using this example of coins in a treasury, it really is expanded to our time and our talent as well as our treasure. But it's very interesting that oftentimes when people are challenged to offer their resources, they can always find someone wealthier than they. They can always find someone who has more time than they do. They become very humble and can find and point out others who are far more talented and gifted than they are. Whenever people are challenged, it's amazing how many poor, untalented, overworked people we encounter because they just don't have time. They just are too busy. They're not talented enough, and they are poor, or at least they're able to point out others who have more. Well, my friends, we can all put ourselves on that sliding scale of finding someone who has more money than us. Millionaires point to billionaires and claim poverty. And so the reality in our lives is we need to really search our hearts, to look inward, and to discover those many ways in which God has blessed us, but then those many ways He's asking us to share those blessings with others. That poor widow came forth loving God and praising God and wanting to serve God in her generosity, even though it would impact greatly her own well-being. And so as we adhere to this gospel today, the challenge for us is to be people who honestly search our hearts and minds, who honestly reflect on our wealth, who honestly reflect on our gifts and our talents, who honestly examine our time frame. And if there are those things that are fighting for our attention, that are pulling us away from offering our time and our talent and our treasure to God, then it is our responsibility to readjust. It is our responsibility to truly reflect and to find those ways in which we unite more with this poor widow, recognizing how we have been blessed, loving God to the fullest, and offering ourselves in service of God and our brothers and sisters in need. For truly, the Lord is looking for us to offer our whole livelihood in service, in ministry, in dedication and faith to Him and to all God's people.